gentlemen, the one and only Shaun Proulx, coming to you. I love. Hi, dear.
Nice to see you.
Oh, I love your glasses.
Thank you.
You always have the neatest glasses, too. I'm
So
gonna
do
say
you.
too. I know, that's what I said, too. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm excellent, too, Shaun. Life is very good. At the moment, life has been very good to me and very blessed. But let's talk about your blessings instead.
Sure.
So,
I got a million of them.
Yeah, I know you do. And you know what? And you're very generous with that. I think it's important in this day and age to put out that kind of positive energy so people know that COVID is not going to take over everybody's life at all times, you know? So
I do agree with that. I think you also want to do it for yourself as well, no matter whether it's good times or more difficult times like this thing called 2020 that we're living in. I think you owe it to yourself to be positive.
Well, I think we both, I'm not sure we're on the same train, but I know we've taken the same route in different ways, you know, just a whole bunch of things. So why don't we get started? And and shout out to anybody. Now, Shaun, you're a pro at this. I'm getting used to being able to talk to you and look at you and engage you, and then also look at these other people. Hi, Velvet, Copper Velvet. Thank you. Anyway.
There's Deb Pierce is in the house as well. I just saw.
Deb, yeah.
The infamous. Hey, Deb.
Hey, Deb. Welcome. I'm just going to give a brief introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Academy of Enlightenment. For the faithfully fashionable, where they come to learn that without faith in yourself, you don't have a chance to heaven. And without style, you don't have a chance in hell. And this gentleman tonight knows all about style. I have known him. I've known Shaun. Shaun, how long have we known each other?
We have known each other since I first left finance, so that's a good 20 plus years.
Okay. I would say that's a friendship, wouldn't you?
I would agree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, guys, we're not in each other's faces all day long. Don't get, you know, we don't probably see each other one day to the next. But when we do see each other, it's like picking up where we left off. It always has been that way with us. And there are certain people in our lives like that. Anyway. Shaun, let's get started. What's something that people would be surprised to know about you?
I think people would be surprised to know that I consider myself shy. I have a very public job, and you know, when you're on the radio and you use your voice, people tend to think that you're an extrovert, but in reality, I'm much more of I think that I'm an introvert, but I think there's also the, what is it called? Introverted extrovert? Yeah.
I think you wrote something about that once, didn't you? Or did you quote something? I thought it was very clever. I remember being clever.
I feel I could stand up on stage in front of thousands of people and talk to them, but put me in a room full of people like that, and that's not my forte at all.
I'm very similar, and people certainly do a double take when I say that. I am shy by nature. And I don't like crowds. And then people will say, well, you sang to so many people all at once. I said, yes, but I could control them because there was usually an orchestra pit in between.
Yeah, a very different thing.
It is. I always felt very protected on stage, so I never feared things like that. But it's not uncommon for some of the biggest personalities to claim that they're shy, and I totally get it. And I think it's partly because we do see part of our work as being maybe vulnerable, maybe certainly accessible. I think that's the word, accessible. I don't necessarily mean vulnerable, but I do think we have to. I've always said when I was teaching school, you know, if I'm not going to share something appropriate with my students, for instance, and so they can get to know me and who I am, why would they want to share anything with me? So I always go forward. And I think as a performer, if you will, or as a personality, if you will, we're probably the people that go first in a conversation because we're used to taking the lead in that regard.
So true.
I'll tell you, I've sat in many a party in the chair right next to the buffet table, and I haven't moved. Not because of the food. You know, it's just that way.
You park yourself, don't you? You just park.
I do. I park myself, and I park myself against a wall so I can see people coming It's just a thing. I haven't quite figured that one out. Have you?
No,
What is
it's
it?
just who I am. It's just who I
Well,
am.
and
I
also,
accept
I
it.
mean, I'm at a slightly disadvantage is that I tend to then, if I'm sitting down, which is what I tend to do, I'm even lower on the totem pole, as it were, because everybody's standing
Right.
here above me. So, you know, the plane, boss, the plane. You know, it's, okay. I'm gonna get calls from little people. I know I am. Okay, where did you grow up, dear?
I grew up in small towns, most notably a small town called Grand Valley in Ontario. It's near Orangeville,
It's
near
beautiful.
Newmarket. If people, it's beautiful through
It's
there.
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
grew
used to
up
have.
just
Yeah.
outside of the town, actually, on a 150-acre piece of property. So really in the boonies.
Oh, are you one of those straw hats and overall kind of?
No, no,
Oh,
I stuck
I
outside like a
didn't think
sore
so.
thumb. No, trust me. Yeah, no, I did not blend in.
What was that like? Not blending in.
Oh gosh, when you're a young kid or you're a teenager, it's horrible. It's horrible, I think. But at the same time, I couldn't help myself. I just I've always been an individualist, and even when you're a teenager, you can't stop that. It's just impossible. So, but it was hard when you don't assimilate at that age. You get picked on a lot, and that sort of stuff happened.
Well, you know what, Sean? I couldn't even spell assimilate at that age. So, how can we expect to do it if we don't even
If
know
we
how to
can't
spell
spell it.
it? I know. Yeah, it's an awkward age. So this leads me into my next question, and that
Oh
is,
no.
what would you tell your 13-year-old self? Say, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 13-year-old self?
Probably tell my 13-year-old self that it's all going to be okay as soon as you can take the reins.
What does taking the reins look like for you?
What it looked like was getting out of that small town and skipping the idea of going to even post-secondary school. I'm a high school dropout, and creating my own life. And that meant coming to the city, Toronto, here, where we're both based, and finding something to do and being my own person. I think I would have told my 13-year-old self, as soon as you can start being yourself, your own person, everything's going to be okay.
You know, my mother sat me down when I was 5 while she was teaching me how to sew on a button. And she told, it was August. We were outside on the back porch or something, and she just started this conversation, and that's when she told me I was gay. But her word for it was that I was special. She said that I'm going to meet people in grade 1 that are some of my friends, and I'm going to make new friends. But she said there will be kids that are going to tease you, and they're going to call you girl, and they're going to tease you, and they're going to say that you're different. And she said, but you're not different, you're special. That was her word for it. This is 1950. This is
That's an astute
1960.
mother.
Strict Irish Catholic. Strict Irish Catholic. So, did anyone sit you down and have a conversation about that with you?
No, I think for my dad, it was one of his greatest fears. I think he blamed himself and
Oh,
his fathering
I know.
for
I know.
that. So no, he did not see it the way your very astute and modern mother did. And my mother had that fear as well. And my mother's British, so what do the British do? They sweep things under the rug. We don't talk about it, type of thing. So far from your experience, my mom never said anything like that. And I think I came out to her when I was 27, and she said, I think I always suspected, which made me laugh because I just was like, suspected. I mean, you saw me grow up. What part of me didn't you know was gay? But that was her upbringing, and so no. I wish maybe my parents had been a bit more modern and less fearful, like your mother was, and told me I was special.
Sean, you're very special. You
Thank
know
you.
that. You need to know that. We all need to know that, don't we?
I agree.
You know,
Everybody's
it
special and
doesn't matter who it is
magnificent.
either. You know, it, I think one of my biggest coups, if you will, from a sartorial perspective, is when a street person begging for money and I don't give them anything, and they still tell me I look I look great. And I'm thinking, and I know it's genuine because I really mean it. I'm not giving you any money here.
Yes.
I use well that the answer to that though is I rarely have any cash on me anyway. I
Just
no, but I mean
cards.
I use my debit card.
Mm.
It's just who I am. Um, so, at what age did you know you were gay?
Oh gosh, right out of the womb,
Okay.
almost. Yeah, no,
So
I knew I
you had
was.
a very interesting childhood navigating all that.
Yes, I mean, I knew who I was when I was 5. I remember this. I remember having a crush on the little boy across the street. I remember being more curious about men and being drawn to them, attracted to them. And so, yeah, I always knew I was gay.
I described it to somebody recently, that feeling. I was 3.5. I was 3.5 or 4. No, I was 4. And I was a very affectionate child, very affectionate. And this was the 50s, 60s. So,
Mm.
a kid could be pretty affectionate. And I actually was on the couch lying beside my oldest brothers, a friend of my oldest brothers. We were just lying there. And he sort of raised his arms up over his head and his shirt came up from his belt, the belt line on his pants, and I saw some hair on his belly. And I described that feeling of seeing that so close as like going over that moment in a roller coaster where everybody gets on the roller coaster for that one sensation, I don't know what it is, but it's the most memorable
It's a
sensation.
thrill.
It's a thrill. It's really
Yeah.
thrilling. Um, so what I would ask you now is, then what is unquestionably your favorite childhood memory?
I was thinking about that because you shared some of the ideas you wanted to talk about tonight, and it's funny what came to my mind right away. My dad and I had a very volatile relationship. He was an alcoholic, and as I mentioned earlier, was very fearful about what he was seeing in terms of homosexuality in his oldest child, and we fought. And I was a lippy kid, and we had a very volatile relationship. And so when you ask me what my memory is, there was one day we were in a public swimming pool, and it was just him and I, and he was tossing a polo ball back and forth with me, and I was catching it, most importantly, and I was able to throw it back. I was not good at sports. I was not a sports person, but in that moment, I think I felt like I was being the son that my dad wanted to be. And there was a rare moment of peace and love between us. And I've never forgotten that. It's such a simple thing, throwing a ball with your dad in a pool. But when you ask me my
That's all you
favorite,
wanted, isn't it? That is all you wanted.
that's all I
Those moments.
wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Um, so, okay. Um, what keeps you humble?
Oh gosh.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, this was a question that I did not give him, by the way.
No, I figured I knew there were going to be some pop quizzes in here. Um, I feel like that little boy still all the time. I feel curious, and most of all, I feel really appreciative, and with some kind of measure of disbelief about great things that have happened in my life. And so when I do accomplish something, or I have reached a place in my experience that is greater than I've ever experienced before, I almost can't believe it sometimes. And so I Yeah, I'm not. That keeps me humble. That.
Do you feel you're worthy of it? Do you see yourself as being worthy?
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I said to him, "Do you feel like there's a lesson you're here to learn, like a thematic lesson in your life?" And for me, I know one reason I've been put here on this earth, and is for my soul to learn value and worth. And so a lot of the stuff that I've experienced, whether I look back at relationships, whether I look back at professional things, experiences in my life, I can see the pattern of, or the way I can react if I feel like I have not been treated up to the level of my worth. I can see the patterns of learning that make me think one of the reasons for me being here is for my soul to get that I'm worth it.
As a Roman Catholic altar boy, choir director, and former monk, I've got all the bases covered on this one. Sanctity is often defined in ways that are out there, but my definition of sanctity is simply the highest calling you can answer, and that is to be your most authentic self.
Yes.
And that's that. So when people talk about sanctity in others, I look at what are they being called to do. There's always an action involved, something, whether it's converting the heathens or whatever. Which reminds me of a good joke, but I'll tell that one later. But it's really about sanctity. It's a real authentic journey, really. And so what I would like to ask you is, when you left finance, I mean, you were so successful at a very young age. Tell us a little bit about that rise, so that in your rising star. And because I think it's important for people to understand, you may make it look easy, but it is fucking hard. And I would like people to know that, because making it look easy is part of who you are, not necessarily, and so let's talk about the dynamics that led you up, how you developed in your finance, and give us an idea of the level.
I think if I've ever made anything look easy, it's because I'm a happy guy. And so just because someone's happy doesn't mean that they aren't going through challenges that feel like that feel like they might be defeated by. But I stumbled into finance, and I had no business being there. I'd failed grade 10 math, but I was good with people. And I ended up, by the end of my 8-year ride in finance, which I now consider my university education I didn't have. It taught me business planning. It taught me a thick skin. It taught me people management. It taught me all the things that I was going to one day need in abundance. And by the end of my 8-year ride there, I was making a really healthy 6-figure salary. I just turned 30, really healthy. And I owned a house in Leslieville. I wanted for nothing. I was a shopaholic. And it was the shopaholicness-ism that caught my attention, because I was going and buying something almost every single day. And I grew to understand that I was filling a void if I was doing that. And it was just around the year 2000. And at that time, if you recall, we were all about Y2K and where you're going to be when the clock strikes midnight at 2000. And I wanted to ask the bigger question, which is, what am I going to be doing with my life when 2000 hits? And I knew I was good with words, and as a writer and a speaker, and had done some acting, and I loved it. And so I decided to reinvent myself. And so I left my job. I had to sell my house. I went broke along the way, but that was 20 years ago. And the ride has been a very happy one, because when you are fulfilling your bliss, when you are using your universe-given talents, when you are being authentic, you can't help but come out a winner. And it's a decision I made that I'll never forget or regret. I'm the captain of my own ship. I get to make all the decisions in my life, and I have freedom. And freedom is the basis of joy. And so I think we're all here to find that joy, and I've found it by just being able to be myself.
I couldn't agree with you more.
I'm going to give us some more light here. I see we're fading.
Yes, darling, find your light.
Finding my light.
Find your light. You know, that's something you can't teach somebody. You know, you can't teach people how to find their light. They have to feel it, you know?
I thought you were talking about authenticity. No, you can't teach people to find the light. You have to find it yourself.
Go find it yourself. When I was at my lowest point, I wrote that suicide was not an option because I was already dead. And when I wrote that, that scared me. Not because I had used the word suicide in reference to me, more so that I was dead and I couldn't figure out for how long. And when you get to those points in your life, I don't know how you make that look easy, you know? I know what I did. I literally stayed in my home for an entire year, and I slept roughly 20 hours a day. And that's all I did for an entire year. And then I dusted myself off, you know, and I thought, okay, well, I've done this, and I'm not really any further ahead. So what was the catalyst that took you from a very cushy, and I think this is exactly the time, because I remember being brought to your home in Leslieville, just briefly. And
it was right when I'd left finance. It was very, very early on.
Yes, I know
you. Yeah,
I remember that, and I was so impressed with you, not just because of your height. I'm always impressed with tall people, but also because of your seemingly your finesse and your worldliness about finance, because I've lived a really sheltered life. I've lived a good life and I've done a lot of things, but my reinventions over the years have been pretty calculated and informed. Not to say they weren't risky. I mean, I did leave teaching to pursue an operatic career. Now, if that isn't risky, I don't know what
that's
is.
Risky.
You know, but it's really talking about finance, it's an investment in yourself. So using the analogy of finance, what would you say was your biggest dividend in making that reinvention decision from finance to whatever?
Easily, it has been an ongoing feeling of happiness and contentment. That's the dividend. When you are able to wake up every morning and be happy to be doing whatever it is you're doing that day. You know, because life is not a promise. And I think my dad died in front of me when I was 17, and it was a traumatic experience to have, but it was also a great gift because it planted a very strong message, however subtly, in me that tomorrow's not a promise. And so I've lived life with a measure of risk. I embrace risk and I embrace change. And those are the things that when you know the universe has your back, and the universe always has your back, you make moves in life, and life rewards risk. And so because of all of that, I've led a very, very happy, blessed life. And if it were my turn, if I was out of time tomorrow, I can honestly say I've got no regrets. And I think one of my biggest fears, if I have to name any, would be to have regrets, to be lying on your deathbed because you've been hit by a bus, and to be going, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I never tried this. And it haunted me, the idea of what would my life be like if I didn't try? And I never wanted to have to face that. I always wanted to have been able to say that I tried. And the rewards there are plenty. So long answer to your short question, that's the dividend.
I love long answers to short questions. because then I don't feel so alone, you know. Uh, American novelist, playwright, essayist, and activist James Baldwin wrote, "Art has to be a kind of confession." So I'm wondering, what do you suppose he meant by this statement as it may apply to you? Art has to be a kind of confession. So in your artistic endeavors of reinventing, because I really see reinvention as an artistic endeavor, because
No, of course, yeah.
it's a highly curated process. In fact, I wrote a paper on how to curate your confidence, and it talks about the reinvention process. So tell us about your reinvention process as it relates to art being a type of confession. What do you think?
Confession. Well, I think I've always tried to authentically express myself, and that's confessional in and of itself. Whether I've been doing feature writing for newspapers or whether it's on my current show on SiriusXM, there's been a call to me to do it all with an open heart and to do it all honestly, even though sometimes it's controversial, sometimes it's provoking for people. It has been important to me to speak truthfully and to say my piece from my lens. And so I think that makes it all confessional, artistically.
Now, you are in the process of writing your memoirs, am I correct?
I am.
Well, let's talk. Can we talk?
Can we?
Have you got a working title?
Yes, it's called Cracked.
Cracked?
Yes.
Wow. Do you mind if I smoke?
Please do.
Is that the working title, or is that that is the title?
It's the working title at the moment. And the subtitle is Sex, Drugs, Celebrity, and Other Miracles.
So let's talk about a few of those things. I asked you what was your favorite childhood memory. What do you think is the most glorious miracle you've ever received? In terms of clearly showing you who you are at that moment to move forward in your life.
I think the most glorious miracle I've ever received is my ability to be myself in any situation. I think to accept yourself and to there's in my book, Cracked, I talk about this Japanese artistic process where if you cracked a bowl, they don't throw that bowl out. If you've cracked that bowl, they take gold paint or silver paint and they aggrandize it. They celebrate the crack because things with cracks mean they have had a life and have beauty in them. And so to be able to accept yourself with all your cracks, to live authentically in that, which I think I get to do, is a miracle.
Someone once said to me,
excuse me,
there are a lot of people, most people want to be led, and few are called to lead. Where are you in all this?
A lead.
I didn't have to ask. I want to make sure.
I'm a terrible follower. I don't like assimilation. I don't like samey sameness. I don't like cliques.
And compromise is a dirty word.
Compromise is awful. No, I march to the beat of my own drum. Sorry for the coughing.
No, hey, I'm the one who's smoking.
It's your cigarette.
That's why I asked you. See, you should have told me.
It's your cigarette.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shaun and I are going to package this, and we are going to market it.
We're hitting the road.
We're taking this show on the road. You know, we make a good team, if I recall. I mean, I may not remember what I did yesterday, but I certainly remember what I did 20 years ago. What do you hope to accomplish? And that, I'm not even sure now that I'm reading it out loud is this the right way to rephrase this sentence or this question. But what do you hope to accomplish in your writing career in the next 6 months to a year? Like,
Oh, to get this damn book done and out is my greatest accomplishment or desire in terms of writing right now. It's, you know, I've manifested a lot of my personal career dreams. One of them was to interview Oprah. I've done that. To have something called the Shaun Proulx Show, I've got that. But to have a book out that I hope helps people when they read it, that's my intention anyway. It will be my top accomplishment. So in terms of the next 6 months, it's bum in the chair getting this project done.
I'm wondering if you're like me when you're writing, that you avoid reading because you don't want to be influenced by others' ideas and such. Like,
I
you
used
do
to
that?
I used to a lot more, but I feel like I've done so much writing that I'm in my zone, and it's hard to influence me in that space. I've got my voice. I know what I want to say, and it doesn't matter. And that, which is a blessing, because to give up reading would be a terrible thing because I enjoy it so much.
So, what was that moment like, standing on the precipice of finance and jumping into whatever?
It was exhilarating because I was going to get to do, and I didn't know how. I had no game plan. I had no savings or anything like that. I'd blown through all that six-figure income, because when you're in your 20s, bless you, making that kind of money, you're not wise enough to keep it, even though you're in the investment industry. Um,
Clearly, you didn't.
I did not. I spent every dime, damn it.
Listen,
Um,
that's what I tell everybody. If you're waiting it for me, you're not getting it.
but it was exciting to think about doing life my way, and it's a funny thing because I had auditioned for a play while I was still in finance. I'd gotten some headshots done, and it was for a lead role in a part for a show that played at Buddies in Bad Times Theater. And this is a true story. At 9 o'clock on my first day, no longer being in finance, the phone rang, and it was the director saying, "You've got the part." And that to me was life going, "You are on the right track. Here you go. Here's your sign if you're remotely worried." And so I dove right into a project, and it was a play that was a huge success and such a joy to do. And that gave me the confidence that I had made the right decision.
I had left teaching to pursue my singing career. And the reason I felt confident doing that is because um, when I came out of, when I left being a monk, my parents really encouraged me. They were very supportive of my music career, but they felt I should try and get something behind me. So I appeased them, but actually it was the smartest thing I did. And I got my teaching degree. And hi, Kyle. I just happened to, love two subject areas that are in high demand in teaching, namely French and music. And so I taught for 3 years, and you just said you had no savings. I was making 15,000, no, 13.5 back in 1981 or at teaching, and I managed to save in 3 years $20,000, so I could move to Toronto at the end of. I was only going to last for 2 years. And this is, I know that you do entrepreneurial mentorship for younger people. I mean, I know that's a big thing for you as well. What kind of advice do you give them to, like, how do you help young people get their ducks in a row? Because again, you make it look easy.
Well, that's nice of you to say. And I coach anybody who's wanting to make a change. It doesn't have to be just younger people. People know. I think we live in a very enlightened age, and people are very in touch with themselves, and they know when they're happy and they know when they're not. And so a lot of times I want to talk about what were you in love with as a child? What were the things that you did freely that you loved? And so anyone watching this, I would say, do that. Do more of
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
And sometimes people will say, "I don't know what I want to do." And I always say you don't need to know what you want to do, because what you're looking for is a feeling. You're looking for the feeling of joy. And so if you're not searching for the job title or the profession,
Right.
You're looking for a feeling. You're looking for a feeling, and you want to do the things that give you that feeling. And that feeling is joy. I said when I was leaving finance that I wanted to become an actor, and I realized, looking way back, even though I've done some acting and stuff since, that I didn't want to necessarily be an actor, but that when I was rehearsing things, when I was on stage, when I was being creative and artistic, I felt such joy and passion. And that's what I wanted.
That's what you
I
wanted.
wanted to feel the joy and the passion, and that's what you're doing.
That's what you're doing
when you're being an entrepreneur.
Yes,
you want to find the things.
Right.
Yes.
So here's the question I have with regards to that. Tell us, what is the difference between working hard and working smart?
Oh.
I knew you'd like this one. Because that is probably the hardest concept to get across.
Working hard is pushing the rock up the mountain. Working smart is being in alignment and then attacking whatever you've got to do during the day. Because when you're in alignment, which I mean feeling frisky, feeling joyous, feeling happy, when you tune your dial to that, and you tune your dial to that by appreciation and by gratitude, when you go out into the world with a full heart, you rendezvous with the person that you were hoping to rendezvous with. You get the call. You pick up the phone, and the person on the other end is ready to hear what you have to say. Right. The genius idea comes. And then you're you're a million times more powerful than the rest of the people around you when you're in alignment.
That's right.
So, excuse me. And that's working smart.
So where does this all come into thought revolution?
Well, that is the thought revolution right there.
How did you like that subway?
You're good.
I'm good, aren't I?
You're very good.
I'm good. I'm no problem.
Shaun,
I love you. This is so easy to talk to you. I feel, like I said, whether it's on the street, and I see you, or at a party, or on a trolley car with fashion sense. I know. Don't go there.
That's a long story.
I am. Well, I got hell from somebody for upstaging Sam.
Which you could have, Day. Sorry, I forgot your question.
The thought revolution. Tell us about thought revolution.
In your life, you have things that are going on. You have trials, you have tribulations, you have subjects that are important to you. Common subjects would be money, health, relationships, and your overall well-being. You have things that you think about all day, every day. We have up to 60,000 different thoughts that go through our head every single day. And what I like people to understand is that we're so much more than our flesh, blood, and bone bodies, that we're actually vibrational. We're vibrational. And we're mostly vibration more than we are this. And science measures the vibration of things in something called hertz.
Yes.
And they even measure it, they can even measure thought in hertz. And positive thoughts inject so much more into the world, vibrationally speaking, than negative, lower vibe thoughts. So as you're thinking your 60,000 thoughts during the day about the subjects that are very important to you, you must be a focuser and discern and choose very carefully what it is that you are saying about the subjects in your life. If you're someone who keeps saying, I'm fat, 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 you can diet all you want, you're never going to lose weight, right? Because what's happening to you in your experience is the universe is matching the vibration you are offering, your vibrational offering, with more of the same. And so if you were to say things like, I like the idea of losing weight, well, that's a whole different vibration right there. And so then you change your life. And so you could be thinking about your bank balance. You could be thinking about your partner. You could be thinking about your crappy boss at work. You could be thinking about your colleagues. You could be thinking about all your problems. And unless you use your words and contour your thoughts, you're going to have the exact same life. If you start to tell your life the way you want it to be rather than the way it is, your whole life changes before you. And that's the revolution part of the thought revolution. You just have to think things that make you feel good about these subjects. And I'm not talking about going from, disempowerment or depression or terrible places right up to yippee skippy, life is amazing. But by gently sort of taking yourself thought by thought by thought by thought by thought along a more positive route, you change your entire life. We all know those people where we're crossing the street because you feel them coming and you just don't like their vibration. We're all emitting vibration, and vibration attracts vibration. You're bringing stuff into your life with your thoughts, and so that means you can either live on purpose or by default. And I suggest with a thought revolution that you live on purpose and tell your story the way you want it to be.
Right. And with intention.
With the intention.
Real intention, yes.
With the intention.
Well, what you've said essentially is something that I introduced on your show in January, and that is, reinvention. The process of reinvention is to create a strong and mindful opinion of yourself so that you don't accidentally believe what somebody else says about you.
Yes.
Because when you hear what somebody else says about you, that's why I go to that thank you moment. You bring it closer by saying thank you. You look at it and you say, no, I don't own that. That's not mine. And you can get rid of it. And that way you do not, if I could apply that attitude to my closets, I'd have a great garage. But it's just that kind of curating. And I like the word curate because it does have intentionality in it.
Curate your thoughts.
Yes,
curate your thoughts.
Well, that's the one writing I did is how to curate your confidence, and the confidence comes from the. Again, you have a special phrase for it. I call it the brain heart. When the brain knows what the heart feels, that's that dialogue. That's
alignment. That's the alignment. That's the alignment.
That's the alignment I'm talking about. Exactly. When the brain knows what the heart feels, I call it when the brain has heart. And so if people can that's one litmus test. The other litmus test that I give people: do you like yourself when you are with someone or doing something? And if the answer is no, then that's a pretty good indication you should get the hell out of there.
And do you like yourself when you're by yourself?
Oh, well, yes, exactly. Well, yes, absolutely. Yes. Do you like yourself when you're by yourself?
I love my company.
So do I. Listen,
I'm fine.
I love my company. I really do. I find myself funny. I laugh at all my own jokes. I don't need a puppy dog, which I nearly made that mistake because my life would not be suitable for a puppy dog.
No, you couldn't do it.
No, but you have a little dog. You have a little dog.
She's around here. Where'd she go? Oh, bless here.
I really admire you for taking that responsibility on. Where is she?
She's right there. Ella.
Ella. Beautiful.
I don't know whether you can see it. It might be a little dark over there, but no, she's the joy of my life. I am a dog person, and I love their company. So I'm not quite a solo act, but I do like my own company.
Are you a solo act though? in your life, are you flying solo these days?
Yes.
Are you single? That's
happily single.
Yeah. What other things do you like to do to unwind and just what would you treat yourself in terms of if you go for a walk? Would you buy ice cream or would you buy a pretzel or
ice cream? Always ice cream. I've got ice cream waiting for me for when we're done. As a matter of fact, I have a terrible sweet tooth and I love it.
Do you?
Oh, I do.
Can I ask you something about your acceptance of your physical appearance?
Yes.
When you look at yourself in the mirror, do you see yourself with gentle, loving eyes?
Yes.
And so, I gained 10 pounds, and there's skittle pounds, all because of COVID.
Oh yes, oh, I read one of your posts about that. I do
So
want to say that it's not like I'm very gentle with myself. Of course, there's sometimes things that I wish to change or alter, or I gained the COVID-19 as well, and that sort of thing. But I'm never anything but easy on myself about that.
well, that's my point. That's what I was going to get to. The moment I stopped thinking in terms of what others would think and simply dealt with what I was feeling about these 10 pounds, I've simply learned how to style around it. you know,
Well, when I was in my 30s, 20s, I spent a lot of money on trainers, again, making a small fortune in finance. I trained with a trainer almost every single day. I had a really, really, gym body, and it sort of served me well because it was the nightlife time of my experience, and the shirts would come off in the gay bars and that sort of thing. But I
well, I took
realized I
everything
was
off, Shaun. In
everything.
1998, I took everything off. So there you go.
But I realized I was doing that for other people, and
Exactly.
and to the degree that I had a rocking body, I did not feel comfortable in it. I've never been as comfortable in my own skin as I am now, and I don't do any of that stuff anymore.
I don't either. I walk.
No,
I walk.
I'm a big walker
I
too.
walk about 10 miles a day. I just love
Yeah,
to walk.
yeah.
Um, because my knees from being a dancer need the exercise. Because I'll tell you, there's some parts of the reinvention in terms of the body that get a little harder. And you don't want me bending over in the shower because I ain't getting up, buddy. So I'm going to end it here because I just think this has been great. You've been so generous with your
Thank you.
time. I know how busy you are, and I know how passionate you are because it comes through in everything you do, everything I read about you,
Thank
everything
you.
people are saying. And that's an accomplishment that few people can really say. I think that's, if grandchildren are the reward for being a grandmother, then I think knowing yourself is the reward for being the successful person, successful of being who you are, to being a success at yourself. And,
That's
and
very kind.
and you are really a very gentle soul. I've loved you for it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we just pick up where we leave off, is because we recognize that in each other and respect that in each other. So who knows? We may join forces someday again. And until then, I'm going to say